My name is Juan Evans, and I am an organizer with Racial Justice Action Center. And we hold two coalitions. One is SNAP Coalition, Solutions Not Punishment, and the other one is Women on the Rise. And we're located in Atlanta, Georgia, good old southern country boy. SNAPCO is mainly where I do most of my work, organizing, and it's where we fight for the rights of trans folks. So SNAPCO came along 2 years ago when the city of Atlanta decided that they would take something that was on the books from like 1840 and actually implement it again, right? So it was called the Banishment Ordinance, to where they decided that around the 8-block area in Midtown, which is predominantly white gay male area, that if you was caught doing any type of survival sex work, low-level offenses, that you would be arrested and you would be banned from ever going back into this area. So Racial Justice Action Center, my director, Social Guevara, thought that that was just crazy. And once we began looking into it, we found that who they was targeting was mostly trans women. That was mostly impacted from survival sex work. So Racial Justice Action Center teamed up with Legender, which is founded and the CEO, Miss Didi Shambly, and another organization, Transforming, which founder is BT, dealing with FTM. So the three organizations makes SNAP Coalition. So we came together to say hell no. We got over 1,000 folks to sign our postcards that we had to the mayor, and we had a day of outrage where we did a day of action at the city hall, and we delivered those 1,000 postcards to the mayor and to city council to say that no, you won't do this here, not in our area, and you will not come against us trans folks. So that got SNAP Coalition going, and since then we have a goal to end mass criminalization and mass incarceration. So we took it another step forward, digging into Seattle's LEAD program, all the good stuff that they're trying to do to stop their mass incarceration on a local low level. So we went there, and we for the last 2 years we've been studying what they've been doing with their pre-booking diversion program, and it's a program that redirects folks who are marginalized and most likely to get arrested. It stops it in its track, and it gives the people what they need, services, right? Healthcare, not handcuffs, education, not sentences, and housing, right? So we know in the trans community, right, the lack of resources, right? So a lot of us find ourselves in situations doing whatever we can do just to survive. So the other organization is Women on the Rise, and we deal with formerly incarcerated women. Miss Marilyn, our lead organizer and co-founder of Women on the Rise, she started Ban the Box about 5 years ago, and we saw it through to where we just now, about a month ago, our governor has banned the box statewide. So that's really big in the South and in Georgia. Why is it important in the South? Because, like, they're locking us up, right? They're killing us, and they're sending us away. They're taking us from our families, from our communities, not just in the South, but everywhere, right? But it's mad crazy here in the South, to where now even our black women, our trans women, our cis women, right? So, you know, over 500,000 women have disappeared, and black women, and they're finding themselves in the penitentiary. And the privatization of prison, the prison complex industrial, are now making profit 4 times the amount off of black women than what they would get for having a black male incarcerated. And everything that we do at Racial Justice Action Center, everything that we do at Racial Justice Action Center sits at home with me, because I find myself at an intersection. So, you know, when I was 12 years old, I pretty much left my home. I couldn't take it anymore. I found myself on the streets. I sold drugs up until the point where I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. This was in Florida. So from the time I was 12 years old, I had been in juvenile By the time I was 16, 17, I had been in prison. So by the time I came to Atlanta, Georgia, I had been to every prison in the state of Florida, women prison in the state of Florida. So when I got here, I needed to change, I needed to get away, and I was broken. I had been through a lot of trauma. And when I look and I see my other trans sisters and my trans brothers, we're all going through the same thing. We're trying to survive. Some of us sell dope. Some of us, are forced to sell our own bodies, or some of us choose to sell our own bodies. But however you look at it, we're all doing what the government says is illegal just to survive and maintain, So this work is important to me because we need rights, I mean, they're lynching us. And no, it's not in a tree with a rope for the most part. It's with a cop, with a badge, with a bullet. They're lynching us. And although a lot has changed in the last 400 years, mostly the language has changed, right? So no, they don't say because you're black, you can't live here. What they say is because you have a felony, you can't live here or work here. So we know that a lot has changed with the language and the war on drugs. It really did a lot of damage. It's still continuously doing a lot of damage. So I'm passionate about it because I'm a good old Southern country boy from out the penitentiary, from out the juvenile, and from off the streets. So, nothing's been easy about this work, especially not in the South, right? So what we know is that something that may move really swiftly and fast in New York or California, it doesn't really roll like that in the South. So sometimes our victories look a lot different than what they would look, and the SOPs, that's amazing. It's amazing and it's a big deal, right? To come out with the most aggressive SOPs in the nation. And it wasn't just us that did that. We collaborated with a lot of folks, from New York, Breakout Crew from New Orleans. We collaborated with a lot of folks for us to come up with and to say, hey, this right here is what's best for our community, and this is how you need to treat us, and this is how you need to handle us. We need to be the one who decides what you called us and whom has the power over us. We're doing a lot of great stuff, movement, not just us, but us as a collective. But still, our ladies are still getting killed. We're still being arrested for being trans. And I can speak on that because on October 23rd, I was pulled over early one morning and on my way to work with my wife in the car, and our office is literally just 4 blocks away from the police station. And when he pulled me over, when he came to the car, I gave him my information. He didn't believe that I was who I said I was. His first thing was get out of the car. His very next question was, what kind of genitals do you have? I don't know who or if anybody's ever been pulled over of cis male or cis woman, and the first question has been anything about their genitals. Even on that, we came together. I went to jail. My boss, I was fortunate enough to be so close to the police station, but also even more to have the privilege of working for whom I work for. So my attorney and my boss and my wife immediately came to the station and got me out of that situation. But for an hour and 45 minutes, I was called an it. I was called a thing. I was told that they was going to perform a genital search on me. I was threatened, I was harassed, I was disrespected. And I was sad. I was sad because there's so many women and so many men that don't have the access that I have, who sit in jail week after week, month after month, year after year. And it's disrespected like that. It's hurtful. From the moment I walked outside that jailhouse, I started swinging and started fighting even harder because we won't just sit back and take this anymore. Not for just trying to live our truth and just be who we want to be. We just want to be ourselves. Not so much left alone because we're a part of a bigger community, right? But we want to be respected. We want to be accepted and not just tolerated. So instead of the police arresting someone and having them in and out the doors with recidivism. Let's say a person has been arrested 10 times, 5 times, 20 times, right? It's obviously that if you get to the root of the problem, it's a problem. Why this person keeps going in and out the system. So we know the lock them up, throw away the key thing, it doesn't work. That's why California is now trying to reform their criminalization system. It doesn't work to continue to lock us up, because what we really need, we need resources, we need services, we need social services that's based from the community. Coming up with SOPs, right? Not just any SOPs, but the most progressive SOPs, which is standard operating procedures for the police department. You know, we don't believe in we don't believe in the jails at all. You know, I wish that we can just abolish them all. We don't need them. But in the meanwhile, until this comes, so we need to make sure that our folks, our trans folks, are protected, they're safe, and that they're not being dehumanized, and that they're being respected. We feel like cultural competency training of the trans and gender non-conforming folks of the community and by the community is a start with the implementation of standard operating procedures. And not just stopping then, but saying, hey, if you don't follow these SOPs, your very own SOPs, standard operating procedures, that there's consequences, right? And there's disciplinary actions that would take place and follow swiftly, quickly, and harshly. So, yeah, you have a lot of organizations in the South that's now starting to come together, because we realize now, we've always realized, but we're seeing now that we're moving stuff with empower. Power is in unity. Unity is in power. You know, so with numbers, we're now teaming up with other organizations, and we're jumping on the bandwagons, and we're campaigning together. We're showing up at actions together. When one get a call, we all get that same call. We're keeping each other in the loop. And not only that, we're trying to really build a movement, and all that separation that's been between the LGBTQ, trying to bring that together and just say, hey, we're all in the same community, under the same umbrella. So let's work together. Yeah. My organization is into somatic healing, which is something that came about out of Los Angeles. So on a daily basis, we do somatics, we do practices, we and we do it as a group, and we do it together, and we do it separate. And we work on individual trauma healing while we work on the collective trauma healing. People have been doing this work for years, a lot of years, 20, 30 years, and I'm not sure what type of healing that they've been doing, but I could honestly say that had I not had somatics in my life, that there's no way that I could be in the position that I'm in now, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Yeah, it was traumatic, right? Being placed in the back of that police car with my wife crying, sitting in my car, not knowing what was going on, not knowing why was I arrested, because I do have license. I did not have a warrant out on me. You know, I was arrested for being trans. I was arrested because this cop was curious about how my genitals looked. I was arrested because this cop thought he was gonna get me at the police station and have a good look at my genitals. And so it's different when you incur something like that, you know. That shit's just traumatizing. So somatics, meditating, doing the practicing, centering, being grounded, and doing it around the folks who support me the most. You know, it's been real helpful and sustainable. Well, on a professional level, we aim to close the city jail in Atlanta. It's one of our goals. Before you get all freaked out about it, it's not like it's not going to be a jail. Fulton County, Atlanta County actually has one jail, and then that city of Atlanta has another jail, which is housed with over 90% of folks that don't need to be in there. A lot of those folks need mental health care and not to be locked up like an animal in solitary confinement. It's really a little different than Ferguson, to where they're running the city off the backs of the black poor folks. When you walk in any courtroom, you're allowed to see 100 folks. You might see 2 that's not black and brown bodies sitting in that courthouse. And then the fines that's coming. So yeah, it's gonna be nice to close the city jail in Atlanta. Yeah, we only need one. We don't need that, but if we're gonna have one, we don't need two, we just need one until we get ready to close that one. What's next is to continue raising my 3 babies. Um, and so when they grow up, so why I do what I do is because who else better? I've been through it. I've had so much support over these 8 years with great friends, great community. Why not put back? I got these babies coming up in the world, and I'm scared to death every time they see a cop, how happy and excited they get. They see their hero. I see their murderer. So I do what I do to make a change for the people that's gonna come after me, the people who loves me right now, and for the folks who I love. One thing I would say to black people, black trans all over the world is, hey, you beautiful. Stand up in your dignity. They don't have the right to take our dignity from us. They don't have the right to humiliate us. Stand up. I'll stand up with you. We can stand up together. We will have our justice. We will have our freedom.